many of these technologies enter the market because they tug at emotions, right? You need to store your own data so that you can use it yourself and companies don't use it against you or manipulate you using it.
They're not tracking the cars. Yeah, they're tracking your phones, the phones in the cars, your laptops.
Oh, I didn't.
Because when you agree to use Google Maps, you've agreed to them to track your
Tracking your trip.
I wonder how the future is going to evolve with this kind of technology.
This is where we're seeing machines speaking to other machines.
One another. And I think a lot of people haven't heard about this type of technology, or at least I previously haven't. The way AI has been evolving alone in the past couple of years, it's insane. I can't even fathom how much change is going to happen in this industry alone and across technology.
Sometimes you don't need to innovate, you just need to follow the leader. Welcome to the Cyber Digest podcast, where we educate you about everything happening in the 4th, 5th, 6th, and even the 7th Industrial Revolution. My name is Mpho Dagada, and I am one of the hosts of Cyber Digest, and I'm not alone today. I'm joined by...
Hi, I'm Mr. Masani, and it's good to be here on the Cyber Digest podcast.
So we actually started off a channel called Cyber Digest, where we informed people about technology and educated people about all sorts of things, nanotechnology, neural links, infrared, Bluetooth. And over time, we realized that it was doing very well, and it's something that people wanted to know about. A podcast that educates them and teaches them about all things technologically inclined. So we have moved it now to the channel, the Mpho Dagada channel. And there are many different shows on this channel, but we wanted you to also experience and understand how and what technology is. And we will be posting this episode weekly, so make sure that you stay tuned and make sure that you get involved. We want to know about you in the comment section. Now, today we're discussing something very interesting.
Yes, sir. So we're touching on vehicle-to-everything technology.
Vehicle to everything.
Vehicle to everything.
We are here now.
Yeah, we're here now. And I think a lot of people haven't heard about this type of technology, or at least I previously haven't. And like I said, I was just doing a bit of scavenging. I wanted to touch this episode something around the automotive industry. And initially it was going to be about tracking technology, but I bumped into this thing called vehicle to everything. So I'm excited to jump into it and sort of, educate our audience more about it, the benefits of it, how it plays in different industries and all of that. So yeah, if we can just briefly explain what it is. Vehicle to everything, also abbreviated as V2X, is a technology that enables communication between vehicles and other entities, such as infrastructure, which we'll call V2I, I for the infrastructure, V2P for pedestrians, V2N for networks, so that's your traffic lights and all the other networks above, and V2V, which is vehicle to other vehicles, which I think is probably the most important aspect of V2E. Yeah.
I mean, you know what's crazy? When a few years back in my younger years, I actually once gave a speech to the leaders of South Africa about a future where vehicles will be able to communicate with one another and even pay one another and even go as far as tipping one another. It was a cool clip. But to see this all happening in front of our eyes, it truly shows that the times we're living in are really changing. I mean, to think that vehicles are now communicating with other things.
Each other, yes.
Yeah. Communicating with pedestrians, communicating with infrastructure, which is basically the soil, which is a bridge, which is,
all the surrounding environment.
The surrounding environment, the rain that's raining on it. And also I think it talks to networks. And also it actually talks to other vehicles. I mean, This is where we're seeing machines speaking to other machines.
One another. I think that's where like everything around, there's a word I'm looking for, where everything is connected to one another. That's where my peak interest is with this kind of technology.
I mean, people have always said to us that everything is interconnected.
Yes.
People have always said that, your brain cells are a wave, things are connected to the other.
Yes.
And I think now we all know that that's true. But now when we see that nature is now communicating with one another, because essentially this is iron that was used to create a car and,
I see where you're going with
soil that was used to create a road. So very interesting. I mean, for me, the differentiating thing about V2X technology is the fact that day one is vehicles sharing speed, location, and trajectory. So that's the first one. And day two is then sensor sharing. So that's through sensor radars. And I think that helps us understand that the first a technology, or rather what's called day one, is the vehicles share their speed, location, and trajectory.
Yes.
We've seen a lot of that, where vehicles do share those sort of details with drivers, insurance companies, tracking systems. So day one is something we've always seen and known about. I'm sure many of you know that your insurance company tracks you, or, you know, if you've got a partner, maybe they track and see where your car is being. But sensor sharing, day two, I think, is what really caught my eye, to say through sensors.
And LiDAR technology as well.
Yeah, I mean, this also includes stuff where, like, there's no corners on the road.
Yes.
It's able to sense those things, and I think that's phenomenal.
So essentially there with like sensor and LiDAR, I believe it's when things aren't in the human's visible view, it can sense maybe around a long bend or something like that. There is a vehicle approaching, or there's a human or a bicycle, whatever the case may be, that's approaching, and would give you a lot more caution to just be aware of the things that are on the way. But I think we're seeing this a lot in electric vehicles, and that's what I wanted to touch on next, which was the difference between V2X and electric cars or electric vehicles, which people are very familiar with, your Waymos, your Teslas, the way cars are sort of evolving now. So not necessarily the difference, but how they work together. So I want to touch on the fact that vehicles to everything, V2X, and electric cars are related, but they are still very distinct concepts. And electric cars are vehicles powered by electricity as opposed to fossil fuels. But I also don't want the audience to be confused, to know and understand that these V2X vehicles or V2X technology has always been integrated in cars long before electric vehicles came onto the scene.
Yeah, I think day one has always been...
Yeah, that's always been there long before electric.
But day two is something that we're also realizing. I mean, when we look at day two, and day two, guys, is basically the sensory side of things. For me, it reminds me when your mom says, I just knew something was wrong and I gave you a call. And
you could just pick up.
It could just pick
without
up.
seeing anything.
It's that paternal instinct, yeah. And it brings me to the point of saying safety. Because I think everybody wants to be safe on the road. The amount of lives that get lost on the road is really concerning. Yeah. And many of the times it's because people don't sense that, there's something happening.
It's human.
So I think the improvement in safety for me is really important in that regard.
And speaking about safety, I actually want to show the viewers a very scary video about human error and how it could have been avoided by using V2X technology.
Day two,
essentially. So if you look at this video, this car's sort of doing an overtake, and it's saying with V2X technology, all surrounding cars would have received, an indication that another car was about to overtake. And then you see that tragic accident.
Yeah.
So essentially, it would have alerted that other car that was overtaking that there is a car. There are cars, on the right lane.
And a life would have been saved. And I think this is obviously... the importance of technology, because you can save lives.
Yes.
And you can also improve safety. I mean, that's amazing. I mean, I'm thinking enhanced traffic flow. If you can sort of sense that all the cars are moving in this. I mean, okay, already we know through like Google Maps and stuff that Google Maps already lets us know. And I guess that's sensory as well.
Yeah, no. So this technology is being used by your tracking
the big
companies.
Yeah.
But what's actually very interesting, what I learned about how Google Maps is doing it, is that they're not tracking the cars. Yeah. They're tracking your phones, the phones in the cars, your laptops.
Oh, I didn't know.
Because when you agree to use Google Maps, you've agreed to them track your
tracking your
location.
trips. Yeah.
So if there's 1,000 people on the highway and 800 people have agreed to that, they can see that there's a congestion. Speeds are a lot slower.
How would they sense? How would they know the sense in the car?
We've given them permission. They don't even have to have access to the car. It's just through your phones, your laptops, your smartwatches, etc.
I mean, autonomous vehicles are becoming a thing. Everybody's talking about them. I actually experienced one in the US.
Tell us about it on here.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, the biggest issue that I had with it, and I didn't experience a full one. The driver was still driving. It was a Tesla, but he let go of everything and he put it on that mode, right?
And the wheel was
moving on its own. The wheel was moving on its own and everything else. But I think for me, my biggest concern has always been jobs. To say we have so many people in logistics, drivers, Uber drivers, making a living off this. And I mean, with autonomous vehicles, it's going to be scary.
And I mean, any business is more inclined to moving towards automated cars.
Yeah, I mean,
there's a lot less human error. You see, can get there faster. Doesn't need to take breaks. If it's an electric vehicle, goes all the way through unless it needs to charge. No need to rest or shower or whatever the case may be. So yeah. So I also wanted to show, with that accident vehicle in mind, I wanted to show how Mercedes-Benz has, started incorporating, or long been incorporating, V2X into their vehicles. So it's sort of an explainer video on how this kind of technology works.
Car-to-X communication expands the horizons of previous onboard sensor systems by exchanging information with other vehicles, and is therefore able to warn against impending dangers at an earlier stage than before. With the help of this technology, based on the cellular communications network, information about potential dangers ahead can be exchanged between vehicles, allowing a look around the corner or behind obstacles. In the process, the vehicle acts as both transmitter and receiver. Various critical situations are automatically detected by the vehicle and directly reported to the Mercedes-Benz cloud. The driver can also send a warning manually. The Car-to-X warning messages are shown directly on the navigation map. Certain advanced warnings are also communicated to the driver by voice output, which is particularly useful where the course of the road is not clear.
Traffic event ahead.
The automatically detected hazards include breakdowns, accidents, and reports of ice, fog, or heavy rain. The cloud can also be used to show information from other data providers, for example, mobile roadworks.
Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing.
Sure. Yeah, but I mean, for me, this reminds me of Waze, because on Waze we are able to
When people alert.
let people. Yeah, I mean, for me, the funny part has always been, how does Waze allow people to alert each other about traffic
cops.
Yeah,
How you
on
know
the road.
taken out.
Now you know when to slow down. Yeah, I mean, I always find that to be something quite interesting. I mean, for me, whenever we talk about this, I always say we must give props to the man who actually was bold enough to do this, Elon Musk. Because I think for a very long time, we always just thought cars would innovate slowly. And I think when Elon Musk, when he came on board, he automatically made innovation in vehicles such a strong thing. And now everybody's able to use these sort of things because of what he's been able to do. For me, really, I think it's important to also understand that many of these technologies enter the market because they tug at emotions, right? When we talk about accidents and loss, everybody now says, okay, let's do it. But for me, I'm concerned about the privacy, man, and the ethicalness of this. Because that way, if I'm able to track your car, let's say someone is a criminal, right? Yes. And they hack whatever system, and they're able to then track you. They're able to come and murder you wherever you are with just using that. Or they're able to learn your pattern.
Yes,
right?
Just by observing.
Yeah. And I think these things are becoming a little bit dangerous, because then we really ask ourselves to say, when do we need to use technology? When do we not use technology? And how
far are we allowing ourselves to let the technology?
Because then we're surveillance.
I don't know if you remember the movie I, Robot with Will Smith.
Yeah.
I don't know what year it was released, but I remember watching it. And one of the scenes near the end of the movie was where the cars, or specifically the car that he was in, was hacked. He couldn't drive it. He couldn't open the doors. Essentially, they're taking control of it. And I think that's always been one of my fears of, a self-driving car, that anybody can take control of it at any time. Sure. If the company has any ill intentions, they could take lock the car, whatever, drive wherever they want to take you.
But life is a two-way street, because with what you're saying, I've heard people say if your car's hijacked,
oh yes, and
you're able to call your I think switch off the engine.
There was a lady on the podcast that you had, I believe her name was India.
Yeah.
Yes, for the Woolworths vehicles.
Vehicles. And Everelectric.
Everelectric, yes. Yeah. She did mention that if your car is hijacked, they can be alerted on their side and immediately ensure that the car is locked. And drive to the nearest location.
So I now that you remind me about that episode, there's a clip where she says that self-driving cars and electrical vehicles can be used in taxi industries, especially in South Africa.
Yes.
And she explains the fact that taxis park in one place, they actually pick up in one place, and they drop off in one place. And she basically says that that's the area to disrupt. And we posted that on socials. And there were so many people that were like, that's not going to fly because taxi drivers are not going to do it.
Oh, no, I think it will.
It's going to be a war. I mean, guys, technology. I mean, people said the same thing about Uber. They said meter taxi guys are going to win the war. But
look at where we are now.
Today, everybody's using Uber, Bolt, whatever it is. Yeah.
Yes.
So I think it's quite interesting to see where things are headed there. For me, really, it's to say, let the data belong to the users. If it's my car, I can track it, but let me track it for myself and let it be my data, you know. And I think that reminds me of the episode we did actually on Apple, where Apple said that they're going to be offering more storage to their users so that the users can store their own data. And I think the world is getting to that point where data is important, but you need to store your own data so that you can use it yourself and companies don't use it against you or manipulate you using it.
But what about cases like Discovery, where they actively need to track your data to be able to give you the rewards that you signed up?
Yeah.
What about that? But should it be a thing of I have control of who I give my information?
Maybe, yeah. Maybe then it should be. And I mean, there was a case in the UK that I remember many years ago where somebody actually, so what they were doing is they were changing bank accounts, right? And the bank said, okay, you're changing bank accounts, but you obviously you need to go to your new bank and get a new account number.
Yes.
They've built years of sending that bank account to people. And they said, I want to change banks, but I want the same number in the new bank.
Yes.
So the same number that I was using, Yes. And the bank said, no, you can't take that number. It's our number, you know. And they went to court and they won the court case to actually move the account number to the new bank. Yeah. And I mean, that for me makes sense because I mean, banks, why are you can this?
What is it?
Numbers.
Yeah, why is it? Yeah. Why are you holding on to that?
Why are you holding? It's the same thing with cellular networks. And the reason they do that is just to control people. But I think the future of data, numbers, words are that.
Oh, data is going to be. Yeah. It's already very, very important. It's only going to continue to become more important.
Sure.
Yeah, no, the future is crazy.
I
wonder how the future is going to evolve with this kind of technology.
Yeah.
Because I think you said something about Elon Musk implementing this technology first.
Yeah.
You were incorrect, sir.
Oh, okay.
It was Toyota.
Oh,
2016.
Wait, but did Toyota first introduce driverless cars or electric vehicles?
Specifically V2X technology.
Okay, V2X. Okay, cool. Yeah, I was referring to electric vehicles, but yeah.
Okay, you know what? Elon Musk has definitely shot through, you know.
Yeah.
I think he's had a lot of...
Oh, Toyota. That's interesting.
Yes, back in 2016, they sort of implemented this technology first.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, for me, and for those people that might be asking, like a Tesla autopilot, where the car's able to like change lanes and adaptive cruise and automatic parking. That's V2E technology. But what I think is interesting is the Tesla network, where Tesla is basically developing, and I think it might already be done, V2E connected vehicles that you share data to improve the safety.
Yes.
You know? So they basically collect everybody's data, share it, and they use that data. It reminds me of AI because these days, and I think we had a chat about it the other day to say, whatever AI app you're using, you can train it to know how you want your data to be done,
So you gradually train it.
You know, so I think with training the data from the vehicle, it's going to get to a point where the vehicle's almost perfect.
Yes.
Because over time,
so too.
Yeah, but you should be able to move with your data. So if you move from Tesla and maybe you move to Toyota or Mercedes,
I don't think companies would ever allow that. I agree.
We're back at the bank account.
Ethically, I agree with it 100%. But companies, I highly doubt because the data is so valuable to them. But I'm also wondering, with Tesla developing this network, is it just within the Tesla network?
Yeah,
or is it across different companies?
No, it's just the Tesla network. So yeah, I mean that's how they do it. So they're developing a V2E connected vehicles that share data. And they're basically saying that they want to improve traffic flow and safety.
Okay.
But we now know the truth that data is, when companies say share your data just because we want to improve.
Data is king. They make it a little button that you can just press.
Yeah. But the one thing that shocked me is the episode I did with the cybersecurity specialist, Mr. Mazibuko. He said that whenever you update a new version of your device, like an app or whatever, it's usually because hackers have found a way in, and the companies have found
that's why they keep pushing out software
and that's
updates.
why they keep pushing. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's such a difficult thing because sometimes you don't want to update because you're like, okay, they might take my data or whatever. But if you don't update, then you're
more vulnerable.
Yeah. This whole new world of data is a whole new world, and
it's scary. And I think that's why it's so important to have platforms like this, like a technology podcast, to educate people on things that they don't realize, they're being vulnerable to.
Yeah.
It might not impact you now. You or your family might not impact you now, but
it's
in the future, if a company already has your data,
Ooh.
they already have it. Like there's no getting it back.
And guys, this is why we need you to share this. So don't just watch it alone. Please share it with as many people as possible. We come here every week. We give you value. We educate you on everything that has to do with technology. So please make sure that you share this with as many people as possible so that we can continue giving you these gems and dropping such value.
Yes, sir. So I also wanted to look at other car companies besides Tesla. We know Tesla's great, but let's take a look at what Toyota's doing as well.
Yeah.
VW, how they're implementing V2X technology into their vehicles. So like I mentioned, Toyota, their safety sense, it's something called the safety sense. So it's a suite of safety features included in their vehicles to be able to track pedestrians, your informations, lane departure alerts, and automatic emergency braking as well.
Yeah.
Same thing with VW. They have something called Car2X, which is exactly the same as V2X. They're developing a Car2X system that allows vehicles to communicate with one another and their infrastructure around them, providing real-time traffic information and warnings about hazards, as well as something called IQ Drive.
Yeah, I mean, the one way vehicles communicate with one another is quite crazy because, you know, I always think about, you know, the friends that I've got. I've got 2 friends on my Find My, right, on Apple. And whenever we're going to a place, like my friend will be like, have you left? And they'll ask that question knowing that they have you on Find My.
Oh, you're looking at and waiting for your message.
And I'm just like, you know what, just like check Find My up. I haven't left yet, you know. And I'm just thinking about vehicles communicating with one another, like your vehicle telling your friend that, oh, he's going to arrive at this time. Yeah,
because he's driving at this
speed. He's just stopped
speed.
For, you know, to take some break or to buy something on the side of the road. But also, I think for me, it would be quite nice if my vehicle could communicate to me and tell me of foreseen breakdowns. Because I once had a crazy experience where I was driving
a foreseen breakdown in your car.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what happened was I was driving to a game lodge and I was going on a bit of a holiday. And as I was driving, it was a very remote area in Limpopo. And as I was driving, one of the tires went out, right? And if my vehicle had told me on this road, drive at this pace and there are rocks that are gonna, yes. I mean, I had to wait. I had to change tires. I had to. Yes. So I think for me, if a vehicle could tell me, you know, when it's going to break down or when it's going to have issues, that would be quite cool.
But what does it also like send suggestions on how fast to drive, what kind of mode, like sports mode, off-road, you know?
Yeah, I think that would be great. Yeah.
Yeah.
It can send suggestions or it can either just do it itself. Yeah,
absolutely right about
I wonder, do we need to now prompt engineer vehicles? You know, we were now telling vehicles
exactly how to communicate and what we want. Train it to do exactly as we please.
Yeah.
I'm also thinking about, I don't know if you know of Hyperloops, if you've heard about Hyperloops, the things that, you know, Elon Musk is developing under the Boring Company.
Yeah.
And who's the Virgin founder again? I'm forgetting his name.
Richard Branson.
Yeah. They're developing, you know, Hyperloop technologies. And just to take it away from vehicles for a moment, I'm thinking about, you know, being able to travel from one part of the world to the next at a much faster speed. How would this kind of technology be incorporated into that? Is it even going to be necessary?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Is it going to exist in that world?
Yeah. And I mean, the last time I read up on that, I remember them saying they want to build tunnels underwater.
Yes, to be able to travel
from different
continents.
Yeah. And now that we've got, you know, flying vehicles and, hey, vehicles that are now, you know, communicating. And is it even a flying vehicle or is it an aero vehicle?
I think it's an aero vehicle, yeah.
Is it an aero vehicle? Yeah, man. I mean, in these areas, it's just all about who's the first to innovate. And they basically come through and I think all the other companies follow. Yeah.
Yep.
And talking about that, I mean, I read a beautiful article where this chap was saying that sometimes you don't need to innovate, you just need to follow the leader. And I've noticed in cell phone companies, many of them wait for Apple and they copy Apple.
Ahead.
Yeah. So interesting.
Yeah, that's really that shame. The phone industry, let's not even get into that.
Let's not even.
I also wanted to just show a quick video of Waymo. I don't know if people are very aware of Waymo, but Waymo is a self-driving car company based in the US. I believe they're only in San Francisco and a couple of other cities in the US right now. And they're developing these automated driving vehicles. So obviously, if a car is automated, it fully incorporates V2X technology. If anything, it takes it a step further.
So much emerging technology is just a show. So one can be forgiven for not being able to distinguish fact from fiction. Take this car, for example. Can it drive autonomously or not?
The short answer is absolutely.
That was Shweta Shrivastava, Senior Product Lead for Driving Behavior at Waymo.
What you're looking at is the Waymo driver in action. Adapted for a variety of vehicle platforms, it is the most advanced, fully autonomous driving technology in the world today.
What you notice pretty quickly is that these aren't normal vehicles. Take this Jaguar I-Pace, for example. It's been equipped with an elegant array of sensors and software, which allows it to move through the city on its own.
That's correct. The Waymo driver is a combination of custom-designed hardware and software that is responsible for performing the entire act of driving.
That was James Philbin. He's an engineering lead on the perception team at Waymo. I asked him to break down the technology for us a bit more.
The Waymo driver handles the task of driving in 3 basic steps: sense, solve, and go. It's the way we describe the highly complex process of acquiring information, processing it, and moving through the world safely.
So, what goes into all that sensing?
The sensors that the Waymo driver uses are incredibly powerful, using a combination of LiDAR, cameras, and radar. It can see up to 3 football fields in any direction and can detect sirens from emergency vehicles, which allows the Waymo driver to visualize the world around it in milliseconds to a high degree of accuracy.
Yeah, I'm just going to stop that there. That's amazing.
Yeah, no, I mean,
3 football fields away from the car.
oh,
That's incredible.
yeah. And I mean, it sort of reminds me of, when people always say that they can tell when things are happening, prophets and prophecy, people that talk about discernment. It reminds me just like, the way we've so looped in terms of technology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're anywhere near here 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Anywhere near
Where
here.
vehicles are now discerning what's happening, a couple of... And I mean, for me, the interesting bypass is that at least we won't have anybody who's killing animals on the road.
True.
Yeah,
that is true as well.
That's a big issue.
Because it will sense it as much as it will sense a human being.
Yeah,
walking. Yes.
So yeah, and also human beings, pedestrians as well. That'd be quite interesting to also see that part.
But yeah, you also touched on the human factor. You're saying people might lose jobs over this kind of technology.
Yeah, I think
it's a valid concern. It's a very valid
and I think
concern.
that the issue is that many people forget that when it comes to businesses, as much as they say they care about people, businesses tend to care about shareholders, and those are the people that they're talking about.
Yeah. When they say people first.
Yeah, they're talking about the shareholders, And I think my concern is that governments are not ready for this type of action. And a lot of, governments are starting to talk about, paying people just for living, like just the fact that
just to be around,
just surviving. Here's funds just so the economy can run. And I think that's important. We need to start doing that in many governments. But I also think we need to sort of tax companies that use automation as though they had an employee.
But also, I want to play devil's advocate.
Cool.
Right. If I'm the company proposing this solution, I'm obviously going to come in, saying it's solving this problem, that problem, and the third. There's going to be a much, greater gap between how many people are dying now versus if my solution was presented. When you're the government, you're going to be more inclined to that, as opposed to people are losing jobs. You know what I mean? Because you'll say people can get employed in other places, but as you're saying, it's AI. This is AI technology being implemented. It's going to take over major industries and major jobs are going to be lost.
Yeah.
So on both sides, it is very tricky because it's solving problems, but also how many jobs will be lost in the process.
Sure. But I mean, and you're very right to say it's solving problems, but also there are other jobs that are opening up because I'm just imagining every company will be hiring people that are able to mitigate 2 things speaking to each other. The road speaking to the tire, speaking to the engine, speaking to the computer. Yeah. So I think all of that is sort of prompting, solving, communicating. Yeah, so I think there will be new jobs where people are picking up. Yeah,
there will be a lot of new jobs generated.
And I think for me, I was saying to somebody that I've been just playing around with AI and, prompting and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about it to say, it's a little bit of a boring job, prompting, but it is the most important part of it, because human beings like talking to other human beings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the fact that you can sit with someone and be like, oh, I've got this idea, I want to do it like this, what will you think? And the person responds to you. That's a little bit more fun because you're dealing with another human being.
Yes.
But now when you're prompting, it's just
you and technology.
Yeah, and the technology, you and the computer just talking. And I think it's a little bit boring, but it is a skill that those that develop and like forge through it will do very, very well.
Yeah, and I think I've also realized it takes a lot of problem solving as well. And if you're not someone that doesn't enjoy problem solving, it might be a bit more taxing.
Yeah.
But you're right, people do need to step into it and start learning how to, do this kind of stuff. But I think it's also not everybody has to step into the technical side of it. There's also the admin side of it. There's many sides of, technology, of AI, and the way things are moving that people can fall into place as opposed to being stuck in their
same
ways. Yeah.
Sure. No, very interesting stuff that's happening here. I mean, I just want to ask you to say where you are at this current moment, right? If there was a vehicle that was created that had full V2X technology, day 1 and day 2, self-driving, would you buy it right now where we are? Would you actually?
I would. I
don't know.
I wouldn't even question it. I would.
I think I'm concerned about let others test it first, and then if it works and they don't actually get into accidents.
My thing is, it's been tested. It's been tested and it's being tested. I don't know if it's the same in our country, but it's been tested extensively and people are using it.
And I think
average consumers.
I think that's where I'm different, because I'm very easy to jump into technology that's not gonna affect me dying. For example, if somebody says to me, oh, there's a new algorithm, I'll be like, okay, let's test it. Or somebody says there's a new update, I'll be like,
not going to threaten my life.
But if somebody's like, there's a new bungee jumping experience that try, or even try it at you're the 100th person to try it, I'm always just like, no,
I
hold
understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, because I don't know. I think at the back of my mind, I'm just like, what if on that day somebody programs it, changes the algorithm to just be like, okay, this time,
actually,
and then you're the guy who's
your secret services, your government. If there is an agenda against you, it's a wrap. They can just get somebody to hack into that system.
Yeah,
and they already know you're going there. They've seen your booking request. They've seen you on the way there.
Sure.
Yeah. There's a lot of technology that ethically needs to be reevaluated.
Definitely.
Still very exciting the way that technology is evolving, and with the way AI has been evolving alone in the past couple of years. It's insane. I can't even fathom how much change is going to happen in this industry alone and across technology.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see it, witness it, and be a part of it and educate myself.
No, definitely. And guys, this is Cyber Digest, where we help you understand what's going on with technology, help you navigate and help you understand so that you're not left behind and wondering why is the world changing and you're not moving forward. So make sure that you do subscribe, make sure that you do leave us a comment, and help us share this video with at least 5 people so that we can grow and we can ensure that we bring you better and more excellent quality. Closing remarks?
Yeah, I just say stay up to date, guys. Stay up to date, always learn. Find a platform that's always informing you on the latest advancements in technology. Subscribe to Cyber Digest because that's us as well. And keep learning. Yeah. Stay hungry to learn more.
No, definitely. And Khotso over here has tutorials on his channel, Cyber Digest, so go check them out. A lot of AI tutorials that you can learn stuff from. And let's ensure that when it comes to technology, we bridge the gap, because there's a lot of people that are leading, that understand it, and there's a lot of people that know nothing. And really what we want to do as this podcast is bridge the gap and make sure that we bring everybody along so that we don't have people that are left behind wondering what's going on. But we actually have a generation that's informed, that's innovating, that's doing amazing stuff. And we're going to bring you cool stuff. Interviews are on the way. We're interviewing some cool people that I know.
Some young professionals.
Young professionals coming through. And maybe if you want to come through on the show, let us know and we'll see if we can bring you on. But thank you so much for joining us.
Signing out.